Good morning, everyone. Of all days to forget our name tags, Lowell and I forgot our name tags, but I think everyone in here knows who we are, and I'd just like to thank you for being here this morning. We feel that making our mess your message is really important, and I just also want to mention another chance you have to listen to us if you can't remember everything we say today. Eric Nichols from WBGL Radio taped a wonderful 15-minute broadcast on Tuesday morning. And we listened. It was on at 5:45 this morning, so I know most of you weren't up, but you can go to Robb's Odyssey webpage, his Facebook page, and listen to it, or you can go to my Facebook page and listen to it. But it's a wonderful interview, and Eric truly touched our hearts, and in a way different from the other people that have interviewed us. So let's go to our great God in prayer. Dear Lord, let the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be pleasing to you. O Lord, you are our rock and our Redeemer. This is our son, Robb. Some of you knew Robb real well from even before Robb was born. Some people here. But we have a little poem that was sent to me by another mother that lost her child to opioids. Robb, to honor you, we get up every day and take a breath, and we start another day without you. To honor you, we laugh, we love with those who knew your smile and the way your eyes twinkled with mischief and secret knowledge. To honor you, we take time to appreciate everyone we love. We know now there is no guarantee of days or hours spent in their presence. Robb, you are our light, our heart, our gift of love from the very highest source, our God Almighty. So every day we vow to make a difference, to share a smile, to live, laugh, and love. Now we live for you, Robb, so all we do to honor you. This is our friend in Monticello's daughter, Marissa. Marissa died because her boyfriend, they were high, and her boyfriend drove through the emergency room entrance twice, got scared, took her out, wrapped her in a blanket, and dumped her in the woods. And she was found the next morning by people that were out walking. And later we'll tell you more about the Good Samaritan law, and we have handouts on the back table you can get. This is our friend Shaylin from Atwood. Stacy is her mother. Shaylin died a year ago today, so it's kind of a hard day. Stacy wanted to be here, and she's coming on the 28th. But it was a year ago today that she woke up and walked in her daughter's bedroom and found her dead. And people in Atwood knew that she had relapsed, but they didn't tell Stacy. They told Stacy at the funeral. Not a very nice time to be told. So this is our Robb, some of my favorite pictures. The clothes dryer is my favorite of all times. My mother nearly killed me for that picture. She said, "You went and got a camera and left him in the clothes dryer?" I'm like, I did. And that Robb, it was his niece Sloan with our only granddaughter, and that was taken less than 48 hours before Robb died. We were in Nebraska. This is some of Robb's creativity. We wanted to show you what a creative mind he had. We always teased him and said he should have been an architect instead of a lawyer, because he built all these things from his mind. They weren't from a kid. They weren't from anything else. He built them from his own creativity. Robb died June 26th of 2017. We had been at Ed's in Nebraska, came home Sunday night. He said he was going out to an NA meeting. We thought he was, although he didn't come home till very late. Lowell got up with him. I didn't, unfortunately. The next morning, we went to go about our Monday morning activities, and Robb hadn't come downstairs. And I said, "I think you better go check on him, Lowell." And Lowell did, and found Robb dead in his bedroom upstairs. At which time, of course, I called 911, and I was up there too. At 15, Robb was very active in football. He played football for 5 years. He played football for Champaign Central. He starred in many plays at Central. I actually found one on a VHS tape just yesterday that he had starred in. And he was very inquisitive. We're not saying this bragging, but we know Robb had a genius level IQ from his teachers. And he was inquisitive, and he wanted to be part of the in crowd. And he started working at 15 as the Savoy 16, where he met college students, and one of them gave him pot for the first time. Now, some people say pot is not a gateway drug. We don't believe that, because all three of these young people that you saw that have died all started with pot, every one of them. When Robb was 17, he went to treatment for 9 weeks up in Wisconsin, in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. At that time, it was really hard on our younger son, Ed. And I think Lowell and I, since Robb had died, have come to realize how much harder it was on Ed than we realized at the time. Because we devoted so much time to Robb and going up to see him and things, and Ed would stay with friends. So I just want to share, there's a list of 10 things that siblings go through, and I just want to share 3 of those. They feel like their sibling, so Ed would feel like Robb chose drugs or booze over him. Ed would have a love-hate relationship with the sibling all at the same time. We know he loved Robb, but he also had a lot of anger. And he also missed the person Robb was. Robb and Ed were like this when they were little boys. You couldn't keep them apart. My friends all commented, they get along so well. My kids don't get along that well. When Robb was 19, the year of the millennium, at 10 to 12, we got a call. He'd been to a party, and Lowell went over where he was in Urbana. Lowell was with him when the Urbana police came, but because Robb was sitting in the car with the keys, he got a DUI. That's considered to drive, even though he never drove the car. So he decided on his own to go back to Wisconsin at 19, went back into treatment for 6 weeks that time, and then he made the decision to go for 3 months to a halfway house up there, which was the best decision he could ever make. When he got out of the halfway house, he said, Mom and Dad, I don't want to come home. I want to stay. So we found him a little apartment in a little blue house across from Carroll University, never dreaming. And he was working as a short order cook, had to ride his bicycle every day because he didn't have a license, never dreaming. And that fall he called me and he said, Mom, what would you think if I applied to Carroll University? And I was like, whoa, sure, honey, if that's what you want to do. So he did, and he got in, and he graduated in 2005 with a degree in history. Then he worked a year at Family Video. He decided that was not the kind of life he wanted to live. And unbeknownst to us, he applied to Marquette Law School. He was accepted, and he graduated from Marquette Law School in 2009. Robb practiced law at Debt Advisors up there for 6 years and would try cases in the federal courthouse every day. So he had quite a career there. Robb, unfortunately, met a woman who was extremely abusive to Robb. Not the other way around. Robb was the victim. He was beaten, he was stabbed, he was burned. And all because of her, she started using drugs. Robb's old, from 15 years ago, came back, and she got him hooked on heroin. And did that. If you want to know how she got her drugs, she had it shipped from Colorado from the United States Post Office, weekly. So in 2015, we found Robb homeless, living in his car. She'd taken everything was gone, and we decided to bring him to Champaign. He was suffering from severe depression, and we found out that he was addicted to heroin. We had no idea. We knew nothing until then. When Robb got here, he started outpatient counseling, and he also needed psychiatric help because of his depression. Robb could not see a psychiatrist in this town for a year. He was on a year's waiting list. That's how long it is. So he saw a psych intern, and met with her weekly. He also led NA meetings. He went to NA meetings regularly, and we know he went because we took him and picked him up, and he was asked to be a leader of many of the meetings. He started methadone, which, if you don't know what methadone is, it's a treatment to help people get off heroin. It's actually a substitute. It's substituting one opioid for another. And Robb did pretty well on it for a while, then he decided to detox. And he went into detox in Springfield, Decatur, and Charleston. And none of them worked. It's harder to detox off of methadone than it is off of heroin, if you can imagine that. So Robb relapsed. He had functional limits, and that's because of his anxiety. And I have something I want to read to you. I mean, as parents, it'd be real easy to say, Robb, get your butt up, get out of the house, and get a job. But his anxiety and depression were so great, and this kind of explains it. Having anxiety and depression is like being scared and tired all at the same time. It's the fear of failure, but no urge to be productive. It's wanting friends, but hating socializing. It's wanting to be alone, but not wanting to be lonely. It's caring about everything, then caring about nothing. It's feeling everything at once, then feeling paralyzingly numb. And that's an excellent description of what depression and anxiety can do. On the day we found Robb, we just thought he died of an overdose, and we were brave, and we put in the paper, Robb died of an overdose of heroin. We found out the 20th of December, 5 days before Christmas. The sheriffs called us in, and in fact, Robb did not die of an overdose. Robb was murdered. He was sold Acryl-Fentanyl, 100%, that's all that was in his system. And it took the coroner and the state police 5 months to figure it out. So we didn't have a death certificate, we had nothing for 5 months. But in fact, he was murdered, and it has gone down as a homicide in Savoy, Illinois, because of that. Some signs of opioid overdose are they seem asleep. They have real low, shallow breathing. Their breathing gets really almost not at all. They're non-responsive. They're unconscious. We went through other overdoses with Robb before he died, and you use Narcan. Narcan is the only thing that will reverse an opioid overdose. And we use the nasal spray. There is an injectable kind we've been trained in. And you can get trained from the Champaign Health downtown, but you cannot, they'll give you the kind with the needle, but they won't give you the kind with the nasal spray, but the nasal spray is much easier. So, signs of opioid use, too, are pinpoint pupils, runny nose, and long sleeves. Robb came home from Wisconsin to see us at holidays and things and had on long sleeves, and we just thought he was cold, he's wearing a long sleeve shirt. We never thought about it. Signs of pot and coke are dilated pupils, personality changes. These are all signs to watch for. The delivery paths, the peer pressure. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the e-cigarettes and the vaping. Every time I see a new vaping parlor go up, my blood pressure rises 10,000. Vaping leads to using pot, and there is liquid pot that can go in the vaping and the e-cigarettes that you can't smell. That's how Robb got caught. His teacher smelled it on him. But the liquid, and it looks like a little zip drive. It's about this big a square. And you can get it in any flavor you want, but kids are putting liquid pot in it and hiding it from their teachers, their parents. They carry them in their pockets, their backpacks, and when the teachers aren't looking, they pull it out and they vape. And we know for a fact there's a middle school in Piatt County that said, oh no, they didn't want us to come speak because they didn't have a problem. That was September 1st. Since then, 2 emails have gone home to parents about the problem vaping has become in the middle school. So it starts at an early age. Then there's the synthetics, the fentanyl, the Acryl-Fentanyl. Flakka is another synthetic that they use in the vaping often. And Lowell and I have been to a couple of national presentations, and this was our biggest shock, that yesterday's 17-year-old is today's 12-year-old. The average age, this is a national average, of children starting to use either alcohol or marijuana or some kind of drug is 4th grade. Think of that, 4th grade. So you have to be careful what you think may be, may not be. Robb didn't go out that night planning to die. He went out that night planning to get heroin. I'm sure he trusted his dealer. And we asked the sheriffs, why would the dealers kill him off? What difference do they make? And they said, they don't care, because there's plenty more people. And Lowell will explain to you in a little bit about how much money they can make. Teens think prescription drugs are safer than street drugs. 90% of prescription drug addictions start in the teenage years. They steal the pills. They go to their friend's house. We know this for a fact from kids. They steal the pills. They may steal their grandparents' pills, their parents' pills, anybody's pills. We even heard of a pill party where the kids went and they all threw one pill in the dish. They mixed it all up, and then the kids each took one just to see what the reaction would be. So it starts at an early age, and pill users are 40% more likely to become a heroin addict. Heroin use is part of a big substance abuse problem. I mean, obviously you all know heroin's not the only drug out there. But people who are addicted to alcohol are 2 times more likely to be a heroin addict. People that are addicted to marijuana are 3 times more likely. Cocaine, 15 times more likely. And opioid painkillers, 40 times more likely to become a heroin addict. In 2017, the year Robb died, he's one of that number up there. There's 199 a day, per day, in the United States of America. That's not the world, that's in the United States. The year before, there were 174 a day. In 2017, there were 72,000 a year. So once you think about the U of I Stadium, think about it being totally full. That would be a dream, wouldn't it? I know, Stephen, that would be a dream. But think about it being totally full. And all those people dying in 1 year. Just wiped out, gone.
And Ellen?
Yes?
One of the things that I'd also like to share with you is that as a Vietnam vet, if you've ever been to Washington, D.C., and you've gone to the room where they have the dog tags from those that passed away in Vietnam. So all of a sudden you're looking and you're seeing 58,318 dog tags hanging from the ceiling. That's quite a sight, and it takes you back. Think about this, and that's over what, 17 years. Think about this. In the last 2 years, you were to go into that room, you would see 134,000 toe tags hanging down from the ceiling. That's the type of problem that we currently have. Just to give you a visual on that.
The biggest thing we want to make people realize too, if you know someone's using, tell someone. For your kids out here, find a teacher, find a minister, find somebody you trust and can care about. Tell someone. If it's your parents that are using, your grandparents that are using, an aunt and uncle that are using, tell someone. By telling someone, if Shaylin, the friends had told her mom, Shaylin might still be alive, instead of her mom spending the days with the first anniversary of Shaylin's death. There are other places you can go, like Families Anonymous. Lowell and I do not ask for money when we speak. But sometimes we've been given money without asking. And we do have opportunities today. You can go to Robb's Odyssey Facebook page, and it is 2 B's, and there's a donation button on there. We also have, you can make out a check. We have a couple Halloween buckets, and make the check to CU Men's Shelter with the memo Robb's Odyssey. And that money, that's where any money we get, Lowell and I don't keep, it goes straight to the CU Men's Shelter. So far, we've donated probably close to $1,500 to the men's shelter. So you can give cash, and our dear friend Sue way back there is selling our t-shirts, and they're $15. And today we're donating all the t-shirt sales proceeds, the entire $15 to the CU Men's Shelter, because that's such an important mission in our church. You can see this is our shirts that we designed. Rob was a big Star Wars fan. We had to ask my 47-year-old nephew, what would Yoda say? Because we all know that go here to church, our motto is love wins. And then we had to ask John, what would Yoda say? How would he say it? And he goes, Aunt Ellen, it's win does love. So we got that. And this is a poem that Rob wrote when he was 18. And I'm going to read it to you quick. Surrender to him, meaning our Lord, and stand with your roots in the deepest water, and your branches will tickle the clouds. That was written in 1998 when Rob was 18. Rob was brought up in the church. That was the Lutheran church down the street for the most part. Went on all the church, the Lutheran youth gatherings and things. Rob grew up obviously in a middle-class, well-educated family. And our two main things we want you to learn today is that addiction is a disease. Whether it's gambling, sex, pot, whatever it is, it's a terrible, terrible disease, just like diabetes or cancer or anything else. So please, we want you to learn that besides learning about the opioids, and to understand that people don't choose to be addicts. It's not a choice. It's something, unfortunately, that's given to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First off, I want you all to understand that we're just kind of telling you exactly what we've been through a little bit. But if you've got a question, just raise your hand and ask a question at any time here, so that we don't wait till the end or you forget it or something of that nature. So looks like we're doing pretty good here on time. So let me proceed here. Zig Ziglar. I don't know if any of you know Zig Ziglar. He's a friend of mine. I like him if you're in sales or in marketing. Zig Ziglar is there. And one of the things that Zig says is that, do you ever think what causes failure and unhappiness? And I think this is something that you can think of regardless of the opioid situation, but in most cases. And the main cause is trading what you want most in life for what you want right now. So trading what you want most in life for what you want right now. I think if you think about that, it'll probably fit a lot of situations. And it definitely fits the opioid, the peer pressure, the in crowd, and moving on from there. Users, there are those kids that, aren't in opioids, but maybe there's some kids that just aren't that good, or they've got their own problems. And, you always say, you can say, hey, it's your choice, you made a choice, you're doing that. Don't stop it. Like Ellen said, get out of bed, go get a job, whatever, I come from that generation also that probably has those feelings, but as you go down the journey of drugs, you learn very quickly that it's real. The choice is there at the beginning, maybe the first or the second or third time. The choice is there. After that, the brain takes over, and the need for more and more takes over from that perspective. The other thing is simply okay, I've had it, get out. You do want to think about that a little bit before you yell that out. But there are situations where you have to get to that point. Enable. enable is, that's kind of a harsh, nasty word, you know? I don't think you like to be called an enabler, but I will tell you, there are a lot of enablers right here. There are a lot of enablers out there. What do when you enable? You give power. You give power to somebody. What you're giving power to is the drug addict, okay? And they are extremely proficient in finagling, lying, and getting what they want. Privacy versus control. Here I think you as a parent, if you have kids at home, I personally don't believe in privacy from the perspective of a safe room. If you're living in the house, I would say I can go into your room anytime I want to, look at anything I want to, and if it comes to what we're thinking you may be doing, then maybe we'll have a drug drop, or we'll just do something unexpected. But they need to know this beforehand, and you kind of have to have a discussion about it. It's not that you're punishing them; it's that you're looking out for them. You're really looking out for them, and so you can have an open discussion. And when you're talking about drugs and that type of thing, not only does it have that stigma, but also from the other side of the whole thing is you just stay away from the subject. And that's something you absolutely can't do. As Ellen said, addiction is a disease. There's no doubt about it. And you know, one of the things that bothers me a little bit is that I can be a smoker for life. I can get heart disease, and I go to the hospital, and they'll help take care of me. I'm a drug addict. If you have insurance, you're lucky. They will give you 30 days of in treatment. And after the 30 days, it's bye-bye. I don't understand. There has to be something done because there are so many multifaceted things that go along with drug use, be it from depression, anxiety, or whatever it is. It is not just a very simple 1-0 on-off switch. And I think that's something that you really have to understand. If you come in contact with somebody that is in a drug situation, realize you've got Rob on drugs, you've got Rob, your son. So you've got to realize who you're talking to and what the situation is, and not just fly off the handle. Recovery is a life commitment. You're into recovery, you relapse, you're into recovery, and you relapse hopefully at some point in time. You can beat the whole thing. Methadone, Ellen talked about methadone. Every day I took Rob to the CTC to get his methadone. $91 a week, every week for a year and a half, or almost. What I saw over there, all kinds of people going in and getting their methadone. What I didn't see was an organization that really, truly cared about the people they were serving. That's my opinion, but it's an eye-opener, that's all I can tell you. One of the other stats that is out there is adoption. An adopted person is 46 times more likely to be a drug addict. And that has nothing to do about stigma on adoption or whatever. It is simply a fact of the separation type of issues or other issues, and you're trying to find out, let's see, who's my mom, who's my dad, whatever types of situations are. So those people that are working and have adopted kids just need to be cognizant of that type of situation. Recovery, I saw a little statement about that, and it kind of struck me. Recovery is grabbing the light your heart sees when all your eyes see is darkness. And that goes along with what Ellen read about depression and anxiety of being in one state and the other and not knowing. And it is truly something that you have to, as an addict, you have to get to a level to where you realize, I need help, or you need to help that person and realize where they are and truly try to help them. Just as an aside, I don't think I've ever really told people, but you have no idea the journey of hell that you go through in a drug situation, and especially in this situation, constantly being harassed with telephone calls, death threats, people coming from Milwaukee to take care of us. Those are things those are the offshoots of addiction. We know the Champaign County Sheriff Department really well. I think I know about everyone that's on duty that goes through Savoy, because we've had to have that many conversations. And I'll tell you also, it's really hard when you go to Milwaukee and your son says, Dad, I've got to pay this dealer, or I'm in trouble. You talk about enabling. You talk about cognitive dissonance. That is probably one of the largest cognitive dissonance type of situations you can be in. So, we head off downtown to the world of drugs in Milwaukee, and we pay off the drug dealer. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. But when you're working with your son and you're hoping for life, you do things. One of the things about addiction too is that the person has to be a willing participant, an absolute willing participant. It's not like taking a pill and getting fixed. If you aren't a willing participant, forget it. There's no sense of sending somebody to treatment if they're not a willing participant. It's a waste of $60,000, $70,000. So they just need to grab that light and try to move forward. Couple of pictures here just to show you the effects. That's a healthy brain on the left, a diseased brain on the right, a healthy heart on the left, a diseased heart on the right. So that gives you an idea of what the physical effects of addiction can do to you. Now this is a person who is in recovery. You've got a healthy person on the left. The second one there is a meth abuser that has been 1 month in abstinence. The one on the right, they've been in abstinence for 14 months. So you can see functionality is coming back together there. Occasional users, I don't know, occasional users, we talk to some of these kids, and I'm an occasional user. Yeah, you are, not for long, you probably won't be an occasional user. I kind of look at it as a vortex. When you watch water go down the sink, or are you going to get sucked down into the bottom of that, or are you going to be able to maintain up here? I have a drink every now and then and whatever, but I've been able to maintain up here. Now my brother died an alcoholic. So it just depends on the situation and what you can do, and sometimes you can't do anything. But it's that whole vortex thing and the peer pressure that Ellen was talking about. When we go and you're talking to middle schoolers and you're talking to high schoolers, you can see it in their eyes. everybody wants to be in the in crowd. Well, being in the in crowd has its problems with drug abuse. And I try to tell the kids, I said, you know, it's great to be in the in crowd. But one of the things that you really should remember is that through middle school, through high school, it's good to be in the in crowd. Now you're going to college, you've got an in crowd. Now you get out of college, you're doing your own thing. Probably from that point on, there's going to be less than probably 7 people that you interact with in your in-crowd, people that you just had to be part of and that you had to participate in what they were doing at that point in time. So it's really important to communicate with the kids, grandkids, whatever, of in-crowd. Oh, and the Kool-Aid drinkers, I kind of bring this up to the kids from the perspective of, you want to see what really in crowd is, you just need to do a little research and go back to 1978 and Jim Jones and his cult. 900 people committed suicide. That's an in crowd. Know or trust your dealer? Oh, everybody trusts their dealer. Boy, that's just a whole big deal out there, isn't it? My viewpoint is dealers are nothing but killers. They're killers of careers, they're killers of families, and they're killers of friends and themselves. You can see by just a couple of comments here what it's done to a family. You know, where's Ed at? What's Ed thinking? You know, where's this hate-love relationship? What's it do with us? We were on the edge a couple of times too during this journey, and that's one of the things that we want to do, is make sure that somebody else that is going down this journey knows somebody that's going down this journey, that we can talk to them and tell them, hey, here are some steps that you can take. Don't let them go into that world alone. That's one of our main missions there. Yeah, Robb knew his dealer, as Ellen was saying. He relapsed. He had to get some heroin. He got Acryl-Fentanyl. And he got a homicide. I'd like to do just a short participation exercise with you. Pick a loved one. Pick the name, you know, Robb, and then the word no. Robb, no. And just say that to yourself as I give the beep. So it'd be go, 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 go. Friends, I hope that is the closest you ever get to seeing your loved one carried out of the house in a body bag into the coroner's wagon. We did. Don't want to do that. So think about it. Let me quickly go through a little bit on opioids. Give you a little background quickly. Did you ever stub your toe? It hurts. Then after a little while, it feels a little bit better. Then it feels a little bit better. That's because your body produces natural opioids, and your brain has opioid receptors. And when those opioids land on those opioid receptors, it eases the pain. It gives you that feeling similar to heroin. Heroin substitutes your body's natural opioids. And what does that mean? Your body says, well, I don't need to do this anymore. It doesn't. Now you're dependent upon heroin or whatever drug, cocaine, whatever the drug is, and it's more. So what happens is those opioids, when from an overdose, they go onto the opioid receptor in your brain and they lock on. There are so many, they just lock on. They do not let go, they lock on. So when you think about overdosing, what really happens there, you suffocate. That's the cause of the death there. And Narcan is a great recovery tool. Comes this nasal thing. You can get them 2 packs at CVS or any drugstore for $135. Or if you have insurance, maybe you can get a break on that. I really think that there needs to be a different way of distribution. It costs $135. Well worth it. You got to have it. Always keep it with you. If you have somebody or somebody goes into an overdose, wham! You just hit them with this. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about carrying a syringe and Narcan in a bottle here, filling it up and injecting it. Believe me, when the situation of an overdose occurs, you don't have time to go through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It just doesn't work. But the naloxone actually has a stronger affinity to the opioid receptors in your brain. Therefore, it pushes out the opioids that are there, allows you to breathe. And it works quickly. The other thing about Narcan, even if you're kind of worried, oh, it's not an overdose, it's something else, it doesn't matter. Narcan won't hurt anything else. So it doesn't, you don't have to be afraid of using it. Like I say, about 2 doses is what you want to get of Narcan. I won't go into a procedure. You can search out, there's plenty of training around for it, but basically clear the airways, apply the Narcan, call 911, and do CPR by mouth if you can, because what we're talking about here is we're talking about a respiratory situation. We're not talking about a heart situation. You've got to get air if you can't do anything else. I couldn't clear all of the green mucus and stuff from Robb's mouth and his nose, so I had to apply CPR that way. But you know, in one way, it may be a blessing because he had Acryl-Fentanyl. And if any of you have seen the TV shows where they talk about Acryl-Fentanyl or fentanyl and the police overdosing, believe me, it's true. You can overdose and you can die. Oh, you don't even have to touch it. Sometimes the fumes of it are so strong.
Can you explain what Acryl-Fentanyl is?
Oh, Acryl-Fentanyl it's a synthetic drug of fentanyl that in 90% of all Acryl-Fentanyl drugs like to come from China. And how do they get here? Via Mexico and into here. But it's a synthetic that's cooked up over there, and for whatever reason, well, money's the driving force when we take a look at the profitability in the whole thing. But this is wicked stuff. 2 milligrams, you're gone. The Good Samaritan law, we have some sheets back there that talk about that. I won't go into that very much, except don't run, call 911. You know, you can have up to 3 grams of opiates with you and you're not going to get arrested. But you know, regardless of whatever those fineries are, if it's your friend or something, take them to the emergency room. Marissa would still be alive today had that young man taken her to the emergency room?
I'm going to interrupt you just a minute, Lowell, and answer the Ann's question, too, is the Acryl-Fentanyl is made because fentanyl was being mixed in all the drugs. Well, now they've got the Acryl-Fentanyl because it's stronger, and it kills. You've seen the police shows that it kills. If Lowell had given Robb mouth-to-mouth that morning, or if we had touched anything before the police came, we'd be dead. We would have overdosed, too. I would have found him overdosed.
We would have overdosed.
That's how dangerous it is. And of course, they didn't let us stay in the room, but I'm sure all the police and firefighters had masks, and it's extremely, I mean, it's like 3 grams of sea salt. That's all it takes to kill you. So, milligrams, sorry. I don't know my metric. I never have.
That's one thing that, you know, I was thinking, and I never really asked the kids, but do they still teach metric system in school? Would they know what a milligram is? I'm not for sure if they do. I mean, they teach this crazy math, but, you know, I don't understand.
Well, the Acryl-Fentanyl, do medical doctors prescribe that, or is that just a drug that's?
No, it is a total synthetic. You know what they do is they'll take fentanyl, they'll change a few molecules in it or whatever from that perspective, and now they have Acryl-Fentanyl, and then they'll change a few molecules in that, and then they'll have something else over here. So they are always ahead of the game.
So is it the drug dealer that cuts that and puts them in with marijuana?
That's the problem. Yeah, let me.
In Robb's case, they didn't even put it in, they just gave him Acryl-Fentanyl.
Yeah.
It was 100%. When Robb, the sheriff, of course, is Lowell's cousin, Brian Hennigan, and when Brian was on his computer and Lowell happened to have his phone on speaker, Brian looked it up online. Champaign County sheriffs weren't really familiar with Acryl-Fentanyl when Robb died. And he looked it up online, and I won't say what he said because I'm in church, but he said, holy, you can order it online.
Yeah, you can get whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
On the internet.
Yeah.
I'll just say this so that people know size. A regular paper clip is usually about a gram. So a milligram would be 1,000
Yeah.
of a regular paper.
Yes. Thank you. You just led into a good part of that. What I have here is 75 milligrams of, I don't know, some type of spice. I tried to get the lightest thing I could get to get volume. And you know what? I went to my pharmacy because exactly that point, a milligram, 1,000th of a gram, and that's 75. That's 3. You can't see it, can you? There's a couple in there. Yeah, but about 3 to 4 grains of salt will be about 2 milligrams. Think about it.
So is that just if you ingest it or if you touch it?
What they do is they'll take that and then they'll formulate it into some pill or something where everything else is inert. You know, a lot of your medicines you get, you know, it's 0.5% of this and then 99% water, whatever. But that's what they do. But that's the problem there. I think aside from the fact that the dealers don't care, the dealers aren't sophisticated. A milligram. Try to measure out a milligram when you go home.
And it can be just ingested by breathing or by touching it. Just touching it. There was a case on Blue Bloods where the police went in and they touched a tray that had Acryl-Fentanyl on it, and the police officer overdosed. Do you have another question, Ann?
Do you see a problem with addiction in terms of the underlying problem of depression and anxiety being not treated and having to wait a year to get into a psychiatrist? I wonder how.
I think so. I think it all works together, but once you have a multifaceted type of situation, it is just really tough. And Robb had to wait a year, but we were able to get help from what they call them, PAs.
Mm-hmm.
And that really did help him. But for sure, that is one of the main things. The whole healthcare system, I think, has to be changed when it comes to addiction. I really do.
When Robb was in Wisconsin, he had to claim that he was suicidal so that he could go in to get the hospital to get help. And they put him in a mental hospital, and then friends came and rescued him there.
The addicts that either they want to get detoxed or whatever, that's exactly what they do. They know the system. They know what they got to wait. So they go and they say, "I'm suicidal." And that's the only way they get treatment. Just as a sample here, heroin is 2 to 3 times more powerful than morphine. Fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more powerful. And Acryl-Fentanyl is 100 to 1,000 times more powerful than morphine. And carfentanil is 1,000 to 10,000 times more powerful. You don't see it much, but sometimes you see it. Carfentanil actually is used to tranquilize elephants. That's what it's used for. And like I say, 2 to 3 milligrams, you're gone. Profit-wise, just to give you a real quick look at this, you can buy a kilo of fentanyl for about $8,000 to $10,000. That's a kilo. You cut that kilo down to milligrams. Okay, there's 1 million milligrams in a kilo. You sell that for 20, 40, or whatever. So you can turn $10,000 into $20 million or $10 million, depending on how it goes. There's a driving force. That's it's a return on investment as long as you don't get caught, right? What I like to do too is tell the kids, you know what you need to do? You need to do an ice bucket, okay? In case of emergency, a lockbox. And this can apply for the kids or it can apply for the parents, as I'll mention in a minute here. But what you want them to do, even if they are doing marijuana or they're doing something else, or if they're not even doing anything, is get a small lockbox, have them put the password in there, okay? Have them put the name, address of their drug dealer in there. Yeah, it sounds funny, but you really, and of your drug partner or partners, and put that into this lockbox, and parents stay away from it. It's only there upon death. And the whole reason is that you might be able to catch the person or the dealer. We weren't able to do much because we could not get into Robb's phone. The sheriff's department couldn't get into Robb's phone. The Champaign police couldn't get into Robb's phone. So we knew the text. We knew there were texts. We knew what was going on. But we can't get the information. But it is truly also very, very difficult to prosecute those types of situations simply because you've got to have that chain of custody that you have to follow through. But there may be something there that it's a more or less a closed case right now. We went through this on Robb. He had to go to a meeting, went upstairs, saw him slumped over. He's all clammy, pulled him back, said all this mucus going over there. We called 911, did everything we could. In light of what had happened there, but the visual things just didn't have a good sense to me. Narcan didn't work. Nothing worked. They actually drilled in directly into his leg and applied Narcan directly into his leg. Didn't do anything. The other thing about Acryl-Fentanyl is just a side note on that. It's actually resistant to Narcan. Now, that's a bummer. So fentanyl and the other opioids, Narcan works great. Acryl-Fentanyl, there appears to be a resistance level there. So Robb's whole Odyssey is I'm thinking, is, you know, we didn't get any revival. Again, the only thing we got was a body bag. You know, those pictures set. Generally, you say, oh, somebody died of an opioid overdose or something else. It becomes as though you're looking down an obituary page, you know, and you just pass it on. But you need to think about your grandkids, your kids, even your kids need to think about their parents, because those situations arise also. And the in crowd, we talked about the in crowd. You talk about addicts, and it's not really a joke, but you know, how do you know an addict is lying? His lips are moving, and believe me, they are professionals. And when it comes to enabling, yeah, big time, big time. And again, it's the slave. They're a slave to drugs. They're a slave. And I talked about cognitive dissonance that takes place under there. You know, it's always nice. I used to really like to say, you know, Robb is the only one. They used to call me Pops. He'd come downstairs, he'd ruffle my hair and say, "Hi, Pops." Now I have to say, Robb was the only one. Think about that with your kids, your grandkids. Was, do whatever you can to never come across was. And being scared to talk to somebody or whatever, you got to talk to your minister, talk to anybody, but you talk to somebody. Grand families, it's a new term that's out there. I don't know how many of you are familiar with grand families. Grandparents raising kids 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, whatever, because the parents are drug addicts. It is really becoming a problem. So now you have this stat I got from Utah, 21,000 families in Utah, grand families. People that have worked their life, saved their little nest egg, now again they get to be parents again. So it's a problem, a real problem. As Ellen said, yesterday's 17-year-old is today's 12-year-old, and to me that comment right there, it just really lays into you when you really think about it. And we go out and we talk to these middle schoolers, you know, and you can see it in their eyes. You can see it. You know who's out there and what's going on. And it is just a sad state of affairs, you know. Generally you think, oh my God, I don't have to talk to my 12-year-old about that. Your 12-year-old probably knows more than you do. So again, I guess our bottom line here too, in our mission, we have 20 years experience of OJT, on-the-job training, 20 years experience in the drug world, the legal world, the treatment world, the psychological world, the parental intervention world. I never wanted to do that. Never wanted to do that. But I'll tell you, I never want anybody else to go down that road by themselves. I would like anybody just to give us a call at any time. We can help go down that road. Believe me, we've been there. And it is not fun. All three of these young kids would be alive today. Acryl-Fentanyl, China, Mexico, here. Marissa, such a sad situation. A guy thinks of himself, oh, I'm going to get into trouble. I'm just going to drop her over here. Somebody will find her and take care of her. She's dead. Same thing with Shaylin. And on Shaylin's type of situation, you know, a lot of people say, well, why didn't you know he's a drug addict? You live with him 24 hours a day. You kind of get signals. You know what's going on in certain situations. But believe me, you don't always know. They could be on recovery and then all of a sudden drift back out. So when somebody says, oh, why didn't Shaylin's mom know this? It happens. You don't. So if anybody knows of somebody, tell them. Talk to them. If it ruins a relationship, that's fine. You've saved a life. This is a sculpture in Switzerland. And Ellen came across it, and it just struck me. It says everything about a lot of things of depression, anxiety, suicidal types, and drug. What you see on the outside is what you see every day from us, talking to us. Yeah, things are okay. Yeah, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. What you see inside is a deep, deep hole that we live with every day. And I guess lastly, just to kind of bring it all together, I always like these little sayings and whatnot. So this one is simply, go and be the type of person your dog thinks you are. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Are there any questions? There's people here, and I just want to thank them. There's people here that have known me since I was a baby. My good friend Nancy and her beautiful daughter Amy, who teaches at our preschool. My dear friend, Mr. and Mrs. Hinton, who are my second family. Their daughter Beth was my best friend, and fortunately Beth died at 40 of cancer. And this is Beth's son, Stephen, and his lovely wife, Ashley, that came from Chicago to be with us this morning, and all of you, our friends and family. And we want to thank Patty and Jeannie and Dan for helping, and Sue helping this morning. It's a true blessing in our lives. And I often say, like Robb says, what you see on the outside, you don't know what's going on the inside. That's true of anything. You know, we all know people, and everybody's got something. And we need to realize that and remember that when we see people. They may be in terrible pain on the inside, but they're not on the outside. And I just want to say one other thing about our 20 years of experience. Those of you that have known me since I was a baby, or most of my life, as Marianne and Leon, would never believe that when Rob was a teenager, I went in a crack house. And I can tell you exactly where it is on Maple Street. I can't hardly drive by there to this day. And I pulled my son out of there. Many nights, Lil and I drove all night looking for him, one or the other of us, while one stayed home with Ed. So we do have that experience. Please, we've spoken to over, this makes almost 30 groups now, and we're speaking at Central High School to every health class for the freshmen coming up in December. We're speaking at Franklin and Jefferson Middle School. Listen to the WBGL radio broadcast. If you have a group you belong to and you want us to speak, like I said, we don't charge for our speaking. Our mission is to help you understand addiction and to save lives. If we save one life from the people today or the hundreds of other people we've talked to, then our whole ministry is worthwhile. And when we go out to these little schools in Arthur, the week before we were there, they arrested 17 in Arthur, Illinois. They took the drug dogs through the school. They locked the kids in the classrooms, took the drug dogs, and they arrested 17. This problem is everywhere, people. And please, please, you know, we always tell the kids, we're a safe haven. You can call us 24/7. We're not going to turn you into the cops. We're not going to tell your parents. Lowell's actually gone out and done interventions where a girl had tried to commit suicide 5 times. So we're here to help you, to help people. So if you know of a group or someone else you want us to speak to, please. We have our cards on the back table where Sue is, the information about the Good Samaritan law is on the back table. And I just want to close us. Yes?
How far a range of area do you seek?
We'll go anywhere. We'll go anywhere.
I am going out of town. I'm visiting my sister
would come, we would come. There's actually a pad of paper back there, and I'll be glad to talk to you afterwards too. We hope to talk to all of you, but if you would put your name and phone number and contact.
The church I belong to has many SIUE students and younger. We have probably a population, not population, members, children, there are 50 to 60 children in our church that would really, the parents would benefit from this so much.
Well, we'd love to. We would love to. We spoke at a church in St. Joe, and the hardest thing for me, there were two elderly men, and they cried the whole time. And I mean, they were probably in their late 80s, and they sobbed the whole time. And the one in the front row, I kept hugging. I don't go up and down these, but I'd probably fall and kill myself. But I went out and I kept holding him, and I just held him while I was talking. And he kept saying, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. And his wife said over the top of his head, he's an alcoholic. But it was gut-wrenching to see, so this is a message that needs to go to people of all ages. It's not just the kids, it's people of all ages. But when we watch the kids, like Will says, with their eyes and they're nudging each other, we can probably tell you when we left how many there are. We just spoke out in Prairie View, Ogden. Mary Ann used to teach. We spoke out there a couple weeks ago to the middle schools. So we're willing to go anywhere. We tease our son Ed, we're going to hit the road. Put the show on the road. So I thank you, and I want to close in prayer. I want to thank you for your time and for your support. So many of you out here have been tremendous support to Lowell and I over the last 16 months. So let's go to our dear God in prayer. Precious Lord, I thank you for all the people that are here today. I hope each and every one of them know in their heart how special they are to us. I'm so glad they've heard our message, and hopefully they've learned about addiction, and especially about the heroin abuse and the pandemonium it's causing in our country. Please, with each of these people that have been here today, bless them as they go through their lives. And we thank you, Lord, for our dear, dear friends that are here. It's more than I can express our gratitude. So we ask for safe guidance and for your safety for all these people here. In our precious Lord Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.